appreciate it. All right, guys. What's going on? All right. I was gonna ask you who was gonna win, but I don't have to ask now. What's up, y'all? All right, y'all. All right. Man, my man. Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So after the video I uploaded where I reported what trainer Nacho Beristain said about Canelo Alvarez, saying that Canelo is not the best because he's got help from the judges in a lot of his fights. When he said that Canelo is not the best, that raised the question, who is the best at 160? Is it Gennady Golovkin? Is it Danny Jacobs? Jamal Charlo? Canelo Alvarez? Demetrius Andrade? BJ Saunders? There's a lot of good fighters at the middleweight division. And some would say the answer could be very subjective. For example, when it comes to Canelo Alvarez, I would say he has the biggest win in the middleweight division, which is over Gennady Golovkin. But at the same time, it can be argued that Danny Jacobs actually beat Golovkin as well, because a lot of people believe that he won that fight. And then some people believe that Golovkin beat Canelo Alvarez. But let me tell you why we have to eliminate Gennady Golovkin from the equation when it comes to who's the best at the middleweight division. Because unlike Canelo Alvarez and Danny Jacobs, Gennady Golovkin is not willing to fight the best in the middleweight division to prove that he's the best. The only person he wants to fight is Canelo Alvarez. He doesn't want to fight any of the other dangerous middleweights. I mean, in almost any other sport, when it comes to basketball, football, baseball, you have to go through the playoffs to advance to the finals or the Super Bowl. You can't just say, I don't want to play against those teams in the playoffs because those teams, they might beat us. So can we just skip the playoffs and just go straight to the finals? Go straight to the World Series? It doesn't work that way, and that's what Golovkin is always attempting to do. Now, some will say, well, Golovkin, he did fight Danny Jacobs. But you guys have to understand something. Being great is about consistency. You have to be persistent every year. You can't just play against one of the best football teams every 3 seasons. It doesn't work that way. You have to play against the best football teams every single season. So saying that Gennady Golovkin fought Danny Jacobs 2 or 3 years ago, it means nothing. And it certainly doesn't mean a whole lot when the win was questionable. I mean, boxing is not a one and done or two and done type of sport. I mean, if that was the case, Floyd Mayweather, he could have stopped fighting tough opponents after he beat Diego Corrales. Because Diego Corrales was pound for pound, top 5, one of the best fighters in the world when Floyd Mayweather beat him. And Diego was the favorite to beat Floyd Mayweather. So that logic makes no sense. So you have to once again eliminate Gennady Golovkin from the equation. And then it comes to Jamal Charlo. Jamal Charlo and Demetrius Andrade, they just haven't been fortunate enough to get the best middleweights in the ring with them. So they haven't got the opportunity to prove that they're the best yet. When it comes to BJ Saunders, his best wins at middleweight is against David Lemieux and Chris Eubank. So he's clearly not the best middleweight in the division. That leaves us with Canelo Alvarez and Danny Jacobs. Now this is where I said it's kind of subjective, because going back to what I said at the beginning of this video, Canelo Alvarez has, I would say, probably the biggest name win officially. But when it comes to Danny Jacobs has the best resume. And once again, I go back to consistency. Danny Jacobs has fought 4 undefeated fighters in a row. And it could be argued when it comes to the Golovkin fight, he won all 4 of those fights. I mean, he beat a very, very tough, a very seasoned Sergey Derevyanchenko. A fighter that was so dangerous, Gennady Golovkin actually gave up one of his belts to avoid his mandatory Sergey. Danny Jacobs, he beat the undefeated Selecki Majes and the undefeated Luis Arias Cubas. By way of contrast, since Canelo has moved up to middleweight, he's fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he's fought Rocky Fielding, and he's fought Gennady Golovkin. And of course, the Chavez and Rocky Fielding fight wasn't even at middleweight, but regardless of what division they were at, they were far from being one of the best at that division. Even when it comes to knocking out opponents, Danny Jacobs has knocked out better opponents than Canelo Alvarez has. Danny Jacobs, he knocked out the undefeated at the time, Peter Quillen, who was favored to actually beat Danny Jacobs. So when you hear some of these fans say, oh man, well, Peter wasn't that good, etc., etc. But if you're comparing, once again, Danny Jacobs' opponents that he knocked out to Canelo Alvarez, or Canelo Alvarez's opponents, there's no doubt about it that that is a much better knockout win on Danny Jacobs' resume than any fighter that Canelo Alvarez has knocked out. Because Canelo Alvarez's best knockout wins were against Amir Khan, Rocky Fielding, Liam Smith, James Kirkland, just to name a few. So I'm gonna close with saying this, guys. I believe the winner of the Canelo versus Danny Jacobs fight, the winner without controversy, is clearly the best middleweight in the world right now. But whoever wins that fight, their work is far from over, because they still have Demetrius Andrade, Jamal Charlo to look at as well in the future, in the near future, hopefully. I'm gonna wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.